We are going to go to Rajitha Wickremasinghe, who was a lead figure in the Sri Lankan National Malaria Control Program, and he will tell us about the successful elimination of malaria in Sri Lanka. Rajitha.
Thank you, Richard, and a very good morning to all of you. So today I'll just go through highlight some points regarding the Sri Lankan malaria elimination endeavor. When we wrote up the abstract for this symposium, we were not certified. We were in the process of certification, and I'm glad to say that as of 6th September of this year, we have been certified malaria-free by WHO. So this is how we achieved it, and you can see from 1999 what the situation was in the country. Malaria was endemic in most of the dry zone, which is in this area, and the western province situated here was generally free of malaria. So our story started a long time ago. It took us more than 100 years. Formal malaria control activities were commenced in 1911, and then this was what we experienced over the years, and then this was the final certification which we received in 2016. We had a very checkered history of malaria, and we had this famous epidemic in 1934-35, which engulfed the entire country. It affected 1.5 million people, 80,000 deaths were reported, and this only during a period of 9 months and in a population of only 5 million. After this episode, malaria control activities were strengthened, and then we started with DDT spraying in 1945, and then we started the malaria eradication program in 1957. This brought in dramatic results, and by 1963, that was our first chance for elimination. We had dropped down to 17 cases being reported in the country, of which only 6 were indigenous cases. With the consolidation and maintenance phase of the eradication program, DDT spraying was reduced, curtailed, and then we saw a massive epidemic which came in 1967. Here we had almost, again, over 900,000 cases, and then since then we were in the control mode with increases every few years. Coming back to the later years, here we see from 1999 onwards, our cases started dropping, and by 2004, actually, we had achieved the criteria to get into the pre-elimination mode, but due to the conflict that we had in the north and east of the country, we did not get into the pre-elimination mode. So in 2009, we got into the pre-elimination mode, and then the last case of malaria was reported in October of 2012. So after 3 years, that was last year, we were eligible for certification, but we achieved certification this year. Right, so here you can see how the incidence has dropped from 1999, 2000, and by 2012 we had no cases, and the last malaria death was reported in 2007. Now this is a comparison, or rather the similarities, with the two attempts at elimination that we had. This was from 1949 to 1969, and here from 1999 to 2016. And you can see the comparison was very similar. We were very worried about this. This was in 63, and here in 63, after we reached that the magic number of 17, it again increased. So second time around, we were very careful about this, and then here we managed to achieve elimination. So what did we do? So basically, we targeted high-risk populations with aggressive quality-assured diagnosis and treatment. We relied heavily on microscopy. That has been what we have been using for a long time. We ensured that we had a quality control system for microscopy, and also we ensured quality-assured treatment. We believe we had radical and complete cure. All Vivax patients were given 14 days of Primaquine. All falciparum patients were given a single dose of Primaquine. And this was done throughout the country as well as monitored. We also monitored the patients. Access to diagnosis and treatment, we have a very good health system. On average, each person has access to a health facility within 3 to 5 kilometers, and most of these institutions were equipped with malaria diagnostic and treatment facilities. Targeting high-risk areas with vector control interventions, we used LLINs and IRS. Strong program management and emphasis on surveillance. Surveillance was strengthened, and in fact, in the northeast areas where the health system had failed due to the ongoing war, they even got private sector organizations to assist in surveillance. Rapid response, within 3 days, all cases are investigated, and any response that is required is provided. Strong partnerships, this was critical to the success of the program, and I'll explain later. We had strong partnerships with the military, UNHCR. We had a lot of refugees coming from other countries, illegal migrants coming, so we had to screen all of them and provide treatment if they had malaria. There was a strong political commitment and leadership from the government as well as the anti-malaria campaign, and through the Minister of Health as well as our President, this was a big commitment provided by them. We were also fortunate to have investments from both the government as well as the Global Fund. We started getting Global Fund money from 2003 onwards, and this was quite useful in the elimination effort. Now, these are the last cases of indigenous malaria that were reported in the country. These are in the armed forces, and you can see in the north and the east, these were the different army camps where these areas were where the separatist war was taking place. And here in the south was another focus, and this was brought about by armed forces personnel who were stationed in the north and east. They were coming to the south for their vacation and then starting focus there. Now, I told you earlier about the collaboration with the armed forces, And what the collaboration was so strong that when these armed forces personnel were detected with malaria, the anti-malaria campaign sort of had an agreement with the army and the other forces. And then these army personnel, they were actually kept in their barracks for 14 days to ensure that all were given Primaquine. So I think that's that's a good example of the collaboration. Now here, these are the cases that were reported from 1999 onwards, and from 2008, these were separated into as indigenous and imported cases. This is another graphic showing the same thing, and as you see, from 2012 onwards, we did not have any indigenous cases. So what about the imported malaria cases? From where do they come? Well, though we are an island nation, we lie close to India, where malaria is endemic, and most of our cases come from there. And we also have a lot of our people visiting India as well. So, most of the imported cases are Sri Lankan civilians, and these people have gone to other countries and have acquired the disease. We have a few Sri Lankan army personnel who have gone on UN peacekeeping missions, and they have returned with malaria, and then we also have the foreigners. So in 2013, most of our cases here again are from India, and here we have, this is some Pakistani nationals, and this was in a group of refugees where infections were detected. And we also have from various other countries. Now, these are the places, the districts in the country from where the cases were reported. And you can see most of the cases here. This is our international airport. When there is a screening program going on there, and then especially for refugees and all, when the anti-malaria campaign is informed by these agencies, they go and do the screening there. Then we have cases reported from Colombo, Gampaha, these districts. Same thing here. Now what you see here is these three districts, Colombo, Gampaha and Kalutara. They are situated in the western province where malaria was not endemic in the past. So the receptivity in these areas are low, and therefore, in a sense, we are lucky that the imported cases are being reported from these areas so that it is unlikely to be transmitted. Now, these areas, this is where the capital city is, and the suburban areas, and the socioeconomic status of these people in these areas, it's higher, and they are more likely to travel. So what are the serious threats that could reintroduce malaria? That is imported cases and cross-border issues, as I explained earlier. Presence of the vector, mosquito vector. The receptivity is very high. The vector is abundantly present in the previous endemic areas. Resistance to artemisinin and insecticides. Health security. Lost immunity. We now have a population with no immunity against malaria. Malaria has become a forgotten disease, and I'll explain that And also, we have the problem of donor dependency. We have to ensure that we will have enough funds to prevent the reintroduction of malaria. Now, this is the time taken to diagnosis, days from onset of illness to blood test. And in 2012, you can see that almost 50% of patients, they were detected after 5 days of the onset of symptoms. The same thing in the case of imported malaria patients. Approximately 50% were detected after 5 days. And in 2013, we had almost 60% of patients detected after 10 days. And the reason for this is that doctors do not suspect malaria. It's a major issue, and they do not send these patients for investigations for malaria. The reason they say is, it's so rare, why should I get my patient to undergo this test? And one thing that we found out is that most doctors do not ask for a travel history. So I think that is a major issue that we have to face. So our current prevention of reintroduction strategy is based on 4 strategies: strengthening surveillance for malaria case detection, maintaining clinical skills for diagnosis and treatment of malaria, strengthening entomological surveillance and response through integrated vector management, and strengthening systems for outbreak forecasting, preparedness, prevention, and response. This is supported by 6 cross-cutting approaches: IEC to raise awareness of the malaria elimination program, quality assurance. We are now having an accreditation system for microscopy, enhanced monitoring and evaluation, improve program management and performance, operations and implementation research, and working in partnerships. So, the prevention of reintroduction phase requires redoubled commitment for critical malaria programming. We need a strong and resilient malaria surveillance system. That is the challenge to prevent its reintroduction. We have to monitor and control the mosquito vector. We have to have a good entomological surveillance system to look at receptivity, screening people who are at high risk of importing malaria, and ensuring that healthcare providers and communities remain vigilant and aware of malaria prevention, symptoms, and treatment. Elimination may be easy, but I think prevention is the challenge for the future, especially in the setting that Sri Lanka is. So thank you very much. This is what we got. The class will receive from that.